Hello and welcome. Get set for 51 amazing challenges that will test your understanding. What do we call the process where plants make their own food? Photosynthesis. Evaporation. Condensation. The correct answer is photosynthesis. Here's an interesting fact. Photosynthesis is how plants use sunlight to make food using carbon dioxide and water. What are materials called if they let electricity pass through them? Conductors. Insulators. Blockers. The correct answer is conductors. Here's an interesting fact. Conductors allow electricity to flow, like metal wires. What causes day and night? Earth spinning. Moon moving. Sun moving. The correct answer is Earth spinning. Here's an interesting fact. The Earth spins on its axis, making day and night. What is a reversible change? One that can be undone. One that explodes. One that burns. The correct answer is one that can be undone. Here's an interesting fact. Reversible changes, like melting chocolate, can go back to the way they were. Which of these is a solid, liquid, and gas? Water. Stone. Wood. The correct answer is water. Here's an interesting fact. Water can be ice, solid, liquid, or steam, gas. What happens to metal when heated? It expands. It turns to gas. It disappears. The correct answer is, it expands. Here's an interesting fact. Most metals get bigger when they are heated. What is friction? A force that slows things down. A type of food. A kind of fuel. The correct answer is, a force that slows things down. Here's an interesting fact. Friction happens when two surfaces rub against each other. What tool is used to measure the weather? Thermometer. Calculator. Torch. The correct answer is thermometer. Here's an interesting fact. Thermometers measure temperature, how hot or cold it is. What part of the eye controls how much light comes in? Pupil. Iris. Lens. The correct answer is pupil. Here's an interesting fact. The pupil expands and shrinks depending on light. What part of the plant absorbs water? Roots. Stem. Leaf. The correct answer is roots. Here's an interesting fact. Roots take in water and nutrients from the soil. What is the Earth's surface mostly made of? Water, sand, trees. The correct answer is water. Here's an interesting fact. Over 70% of Earth is covered by water. What force keeps us on the ground? Gravity, friction, electricity. The correct answer is gravity. Here's an interesting fact. Gravity pulls everything toward Earth's center. What happens to your pulse when you run? It goes faster. It goes slower. It stops. The correct answer is, it goes faster. Here's an interesting fact. Your heart beats faster to pump more blood during exercise. Why do we sweat? To cool down. To get wet. To drink it. The correct answer is, to cool down. Here's an interesting fact. Sweating helps the body lower its temperature. Which is a non-living thing? Rock, tree, bird. The correct answer is rock. Here's an interesting fact. Rocks do not grow, eat, move, or breathe. What does a food chain always start with? Plants, animals, people. The correct answer is plants. Here's an interesting fact. All food chains begin with plants, which produce their own food. Which part of the ear helps you keep balance? Inner ear, outer ear, earlobe. The correct answer is inner ear. Here's an interesting fact. The inner ear has tiny parts that help us balance. What do we call animals that are awake at night? Nocturnal, aquatic, carnivores. The correct answer is nocturnal. Here's an interesting fact. Nocturnal animals like owls and bats are active at night. What does your skeleton do? Supports your body. Makes you sleep. Stores memories. The correct answer is, supports your body. Here's an interesting fact. The skeleton gives the body shape and helps with movement. Which of these is a gas? Oxygen, milk, sand. The correct answer is oxygen. Here's an interesting fact. Oxygen is a colorless gas we breathe in. What happens when water vapor cools down? It condenses. It explodes. it disappears. The correct answer is, it condenses. Here's an interesting fact: cooling vapor changes it into water, that's condensation. What is inside bones that makes blood? Bone marrow. Air. Sugar. The correct answer is bone marrow. Here's an interesting fact: bone marrow inside bones produces blood cells. What type of energy does the sun give off? Heat and light. Sound. Magnetism. The correct answer is heat and light. Here's an interesting fact: the sun gives us light and warmth through solar energy. What is a baby plant called when it first grows? Seedling. Leaf. Stick. The correct answer is seedling. Here's an interesting fact: a seedling is a tiny new plant that sprouts from a seed. What are objects that block light called? Opaque. Transparent. Translucent. The correct answer is opaque. Here's an interesting fact: opaque objects do not let light pass through. What material is attracted to magnets? Iron. Wood. Plastic. The correct answer is iron. Here's an interesting fact: magnets attract iron and some types of steel. Why do birds have hollow bones? To help them fly. To keep warm. To swim better. The correct answer is to help them fly. Here's an interesting fact: hollow bones are light, helping birds stay airborne. What are the 5 human senses? Sight, smell, touch, taste, hearing. Laughing, jumping, flying, reading, kicking. Singing, barking, sleeping, floating, yawning. The correct answer is sight, smell, touch, taste, hearing. Here's an interesting fact: our 5 senses help us explore the world. What helps humans breathe oxygen from the air? Lungs. Brain. Heart. The correct answer is lungs. Here's an interesting fact: lungs absorb oxygen into our blood and remove carbon dioxide. What causes shadows? Blocking light. Wind. Making noise. The correct answer is blocking light. Here's an interesting fact: shadows form when light can't pass through an object. What are animals with a backbone called? Vertebrates. Invertebrates. Arthropods. The correct answer is vertebrates. Here's an interesting fact. Vertebrates include mammals, birds, fish, reptiles, and amphibians. What are the three states of matter? Solid, liquid, gas. Water, air, light. Red, blue, green. The correct answer is solid, liquid, gas. Here's an interesting fact. All materials exist as solids, liquids, or gases. What changes a liquid to a solid? Freezing. Boiling. Evaporating. The correct answer is freezing. Here's an interesting fact. When a liquid is frozen, it becomes a solid like ice. What protects your brain? Skull. Hair. Neck. The correct answer is skull. Here's an interesting fact. The skull is a strong bone that surrounds the brain. What part of the body helps you bend your arms and legs? Joints. Muscles. Bones. The correct answer is joints. Here's an interesting fact. Joints allow bones to move and bend. Which group does a spider belong to? Arachnids. Insects. Birds. The correct answer is arachnids. Here's an interesting fact. Spiders are arachnids, which have 8 legs and 2 body parts. What do plants give off that animals need? Oxygen. Smoke. Heat. The correct answer is oxygen. Here's an interesting fact. Plants release oxygen during photosynthesis. What's the job of your skin? Protect the body. Help you jump. Help you think. The correct answer is protect the body. Here's an interesting fact. Skin is the body's first line of defense against injury and infection. What kind of weather forms when warm air rises and cools quickly? Rain. Fog. Sun. The correct answer is rain. Here's an interesting fact. Rain forms when water vapor condenses into droplets. What is a habitat? A natural home for living things. A toy store. A spaceship. The correct answer is a natural home for living things. Here's an interesting fact. Habitats provide shelter, food, and water for animals and plants. Which animal lives both in water and on land? Frog. Dog. Elephant. The correct answer is frog. Here's an interesting fact: frogs are amphibians, they live in water and on land. What is the process of a solid turning into a gas? Sublimation. Freezing. Condensation. The correct answer is sublimation. Here's an interesting fact: sublimation skips the liquid stage, like dry ice turning into vapor. What's the job of white blood cells? Fight infection. Carry oxygen. Build bones. The correct answer is fight infection. Here's an interesting fact: white blood cells protect your body from germs and disease. Which animals hatch from eggs? Birds. Cats. Lions. The correct answer is birds. Here's an interesting fact: birds, reptiles, amphibians, and many fish hatch from eggs. What is the part of the plant where seeds grow? Fruit. Stem. Roots. The correct answer is fruit. Here's an interesting fact: fruits often contain the seeds of a plant. What is the outer layer of the earth called? Crust. Core. Clouds. The correct answer is crust. Here's an interesting fact: the Earth's crust is the top layer where we live. What is a collection of water droplets high in the sky called? Cloud. Rainbow. Storm. The correct answer is cloud. Here's an interesting fact: clouds form when water vapor cools and condenses. What is the process of gas turning into liquid? Condensation. Evaporation. Boiling. The correct answer is condensation. Here's an interesting fact: condensation happens when gas cools and becomes a liquid again. What happens when you shine a torch at a mirror? Light reflects. Light disappears. Light freezes. The correct answer is light reflects. Here's an interesting fact: mirrors bounce back light in the direction it came from. What kind of animal is a whale? Mammal. Fish. Reptile. The correct answer is mammal. Here's an interesting fact: whales are warm-blooded mammals that breathe air. What is made from melted rock that cools and hardens? Igneous rock. Plastic. Glass. The correct answer is igneous rock. Here's an interesting fact: igneous rocks are formed when magma or lava cools. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful. Stay tuned for more exciting content, and we'll catch you in the next one.